Hey, Husker fans. Welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel, and thank you for joining us there on some of the Husker Big Red and the Great Cornholio social channels here. And we have a live stream with a special guest tonight, future Nebraska fullback Izaac Dickey. And I'm here also with my co-host, Danny Gillette, Chris Peterson, here of HuskerBigRed.com. Before we get started, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future content. But Izaac, how you doing tonight, man? How's it going?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing great, man. Thanks for joining us. Is it hot there in Nebraska, or what's the weather like there?
It's been pretty, on and off. That's just how Nebraska is. It was raining this morning. Got called up. Work got called off, so I was pretty happy about that. Got to go work out twice today.
What kind of work do you do?
I do landscaping, so I plant trees, I mulch, I do rock, I do a bunch of stuff, sod, whatnot.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I also work for my grandpa at his sawmill, so I do a bunch of sawmill work, craftsmanship, and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you ever sleep or?
Oh yeah. I get plenty of sleep. We get up. So I go to bed by I try to get to bed by 10 each night because we go to weights at I have to be up by 5:15. Weights is at 6, so that's nice.
Go ahead, Danny. Well, I was just going to say thanks for joining us again here, Izaac, and I'll throw it over to you, Danny, for we'll get this Q&A started.
You know what I'm getting from this little blip here is that you have very strong work ethic, Izaac, which is good to hear. And I can't wait to see you at Nebraska. My first question is, I was looking at your high school tape a little bit, your high school highlights, and you did some running, you did some blocking. What do you think is your best skill in terms of running and blocking, and how do you see that translating to the college level in terms of how you want to help out the Nebraska football program?
Yeah, for sure. So a big thing for me is just my physicality. I'm a bigger guy. Even for any running back, I'm definitely be on the bigger side. I'll probably come into the program weighing about the same as all the other running backs, fullbacks. So that's definitely good for me. So blocking wise, I think I'll be able to adapt pretty easily. Just got to be physical at the point of contact. It's all about the point of contact and then driving after that, footwork and stuff like that. And I've been last track season, I was really focusing on my speed because I knew I was physically built to play fullback and I could be capable to do it. My biggest thing was I just needed to get faster, more agile. During the season, I assume you watched the film. I definitely wasn't the most agile runner, but I would run through the other guys. So, yeah.
That's what you need in the Big Ten. So, I mean, as long as you run through people in the red zone, as long as you find pay dirt, you'll immediately be a Husker fan favorite. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say I definitely did watch your film, and also just looking at your stats, man, they're really impressive. I know people, you've got the title of being a fullback, but 21 touchdowns last year, 300-yard games. I mean, you had 846 yards. Do you think? Even though you are a fullback, do you think that you'd still be able to, make some hay running the football in the future as well for the Huskers?
Oh yeah. So the funny thing about that was last year I think we rotated 9 running backs one game. We just constantly were rotating running backs. We didn't have any one that was specifically carrying the ball, which that definitely hurt us in the long run. But the last 2 games, I think I got half my yards, so 400 yards. And I was getting 30 carries a game. So I definitely think I could get some yards playing in the Big Ten as long as I work at it. My biggest thing is going to be working so a lot of our running backs graduated last year. So I'm gonna be able to carry the rock a lot more. And my coach watched all that film from the Husker camp, and he's really excited to see me run the ball, of course. So I think the big thing for me will be learning how to play as a running back next year because I already know the fullback position. But being a fullback, you have to do everything that included running back, catching the ball, and stuff like that.
What type of, just to piggyback really quick, what type of offensive system do you guys kind of run, I guess, would you call it?
Straight eye, just anything power. You do we have blast, power, ISO, outside zone, inside zone, all that sort of stuff. And then since we got Tanner Hollinger, I assume you know Tanner Hollinger, we'll be adding a lot more passing stuff in. And since we're 8-man, it's kind of hard to. It's not hard to pass, but it's just not common. per se, but we're going to be doing it a lot more just to open up our run game, because that's been the problem in the past. If our run game gets shut down or someone figures out our outside zone or inside zone, we just don't have much else to combat that.
Yeah, people don't realize how much you need to run the ball in 8-man football, but
Absolutely. And you mentioned Isaac, towards the end of the season, getting around 30 carries a game, and things like that. Do you think that workload has prepared you well for Big Ten football and the fact that a lot of the Big Ten likes to run the football?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. Ever since I started playing fullback or even like football in third grade, and we've just always been like a run first offense, even in like when we were like in Pee Wee football. So I'm really excited for that. And coming into my senior year, I'll be able to run a lot more. I'll be able to get used to running the ball, feel for the field, just the flow of the play, where people are going, where to make cuts, how to make jukes and stuff like that. So yeah.
how much, Isaac, did it kind of help you make your choice for Nebraska with the way that Coach Rule's kind of emphasizing, the fullback position? I mean, the first play in the spring game, which I'm pretty sure you were there for. The fullback give. Coach Solich was there. The fullback camp, which I know you were a part of. So, how much did that kind of sell you on, being a Nebraska Cornhusker? Because I know you had a lot of other college interests too. It's not like that this was your only choice.
Yeah, for sure. I think the big give for me was when Coach Satterfield was on he was getting interviewed or something, and he said that he was going to bring back the fullback. And I knew at that point, like, I have a legitimate chance, because like I just know my body, I know what I'm capable of. I just have to execute it, and I did that at the camp, as you can see. And I'm just very thankful for that opportunity from my coaches and stuff, just because I've been working so hard for it, and my coaches and teammates have pushed me to be the greatest I can be.
One of the things we heard from Coach Satterfeld in the spring was that this offense was going to be a physical offense. They were going to run the football a lot, kind of play smash mouth football. Did you get that sense in talking to the coaches that this was going to be a very physical offense?
Yeah, for sure. So just even looking at the running back core that we have right now at Nebraska, you can just tell that we're going to be a physical offense. Like, a lot of the guys are 200, 215. They're like, bigger running backs. We of course have agile running backs too, which is always like key. You have to have like speed kills, of course. So you have to have that too. But just looking at bringing back the fullback, and of course having the tight end hybrid fullback, that will open up the power scheme, and being able to physically dominate the other team, even if you're only getting like 4 or 5 yards a pop, 3 yards even, it's going to slowly demoralize them over the games.
I know you mentioned it. We kind of mentioned it before we came on air talking about, the Makovica brothers, and, I threw out, Corey Schlesinger, but how much does that excite you to, have a chance to add your name to, that legacy of great Nebraska fullbacks?
Yeah, it's definitely something that excites me, but personally for me, I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to do what I'm capable of. I'm going to do my best to live up to those guys, because, they're for say like idols to me, because like, they played my position. They were amazing at it. They did great. And they came from the same situation that I came from, pretty much. Small 8-man town, walking on, stuff like that. And working hard is just going to be the big key for me. I've been working hard my whole life. My coaches and teammates have been pushing me, and they've all been working hard to help make me great. So it'll definitely come.
What's your take on, kind of the influx of Nebraska talent coming in? I mean, next year you have Carter Nelson, David Hall. I mean, right now you're going to have Jalen Lloyd on the team. There's Malachi Coleman. There's all sorts of Nebraska kids, coming into the program, and really talented Nebraska kids. What's your take on all of that? Like, is it exciting to see so many in-state kids and some players who you're probably friends with kind of come into the program?
Yeah, so I really think it's important, coming from homegrown myself. There's like a sense of pride when you're playing for your home like state team, that being Nebraska. So I feel like it'll just push all of those guys to be just greater than they can be. It's going to be exciting, because having like half the team homegrown from small towns from all over the place, it's going to be really cool to see how everyone adapts, how we become a family. Like, I'm already in a group chat with all of the 2024 commits, and it just already feels like a family feel. Everyone can talk about whatever they want, it's whatever.
That's awesome, man. Those are good words to hear. I know building that culture and having that family atmosphere is definitely important to, if you want to win down the road for sure.
Yeah.
So we have a fan question that we'd like to ask from Cornhusker Corner is the screen name. So this is for you, Isaac. Have they pitched the position to you as a traditional fullback, or is it like a tight end H-back type position that they are calling fullback?
So I got recruited strictly as a fullback, not an H-back, but we went, from that the press conference with Coach Satterfield, he said like tight ends and fullbacks, as in like they're both gonna be doing the same kind of job, but they're actually bringing fullbacks onto the roster for like a specific position, not just listed as tight ends, of course. But they're gonna be doing separate things, of course, because a tight end's not normally gonna line up an I when you have a fullback that can play back there in the backfield.
Now, how do some of the things that you've done at fullback in terms of skill set and agility kind of translate to the linebacker position? Because I read that you've played outside linebacker and middle linebacker as well. Is it a big leap in position, or does your athleticism kind of take over, even though you're on the other side of the football, so to speak?
Yeah, so when it comes down to it, playing both sides of the ball just comes down to you being an athlete and being able to adapt to different side of the ball, because offense is a whole different game than defense. That's why most people just get recruited for one side of the ball. Very few people can play offense and defense. And being from a small town, almost everyone on our team plays offense and defense. So it's just kind of like a cool feel. We get to see both sides of the ball. And the funny thing about it was last year our nose guard actually went down with an injury. So I took his spot at nose guard. So I think that was a really good feel for me of like physicality at the line, being able to have to make moves to get past and just extension, ripping, stuff like that.
How much have you thought of, like you were talking about fullbacks and like tight ends and H-backs and kind of being somewhat interchangeable. How much I know a lot of those guys tend to play on special teams, and I feel like that could potentially be, a place for you to earn some snaps. Are you looking as that as an opportunity, your first year on campus to try to get on the field just through special teams?
Oh, 100%. I'm going to do anything in my power to get on the field first year. I'm going to do anything to impress the coaches. I'm going to work my butt off in the weight room. I'm going to try to lead the other freshmen to be, what they're capable of. Great. It's going to be a learning curve, coming from 8-man to 11-man. But from talking with my coach, he played 8-man and then went to 11-man college. He says it's not that weird, so I'm not too worried about it, but I'm excited.
What's your take? I kind of want to get your thoughts on this, on the Big Ten expansion coming up with USC and UCLA coming into the conference. Do you look at that as a sort of challenge? Are you excited for it? Kind of optimistic, nervous? What's your thoughts on that?
With the state Nebraska's in right now, with the I'd say rebuild year, with Coach Rule coming in, bringing in a whole new staff, a bunch of new recruits, I think it'll actually be a good change of pace for Nebraska. It'll be new competition. You'll get to see a whole different type of offense, defense from a whole different conference. And I think it'll just be good in the end.
You mentioned earlier, we know with Coach Rule and this coaching staff that they really value speed. And I know people don't necessarily think of speed with the fullback, but I know that you're more than just a fullback. And so your 100-meter time, it's like 11:11, right? Like you're pretty close to breaking. So just tell us about, kind of your speed. And do you think you're going to be, breaking that 11-second barrier in the 100 meters before you get to Nebraska?
Oh yeah, that's my fun. I want to get that before it's Nebraska. I want to get to a sub 10. That'd be really awesome. The big problem for me, when I do like the 100 meter dash, I beat every single person off the start. But once I get to 50, 60 meters, I start to lose the stride war. And like, that's going to be like a big adaptation or learning curve for me to get over. Cause it's just like, when you get to the 60 meters, 50-meter mark, it's all about form. when you're coming out of the start, it's about form too, but like also just like how explosive that person is. If you're explosive, you're probably going to beat the other guys off the line. And that's what I got going for me. Like my 40 times a 4.66. So I got the explosiveness, but when I get to the latter end of the running, it slows down.
Now, one of the big things that, Matt Rule and the rest of the Nebraska coaching staff is kind of prioritizing is the family atmosphere as it relates to, how coach, interacts with the players and things like that. Do you get that sense with coach? And, I see all his energy on top, all the time, whether it be on the recruiting trail or, sending out a tweet. Do you get that feeling of excitement and energy and family that he wants to bring to the program?
Oh yeah, 100%. So the Sunday that I committed, the first thing I did after I committed was go to lift. So I was like hitting legs and stuff, and all of a sudden my phone started blowing up with like a bunch of texts. It was the whole coaching staff sending me texts saying, "What's up? Thank you. Like, we're excited to have you." And they, yeah, just all were communicating with me. It was really cool. And then like even I think it was 2 days ago, Coach Barthel called me and he's on vacation. He just wanted to check up with me and see how I was doing. He's like really excited to have me. He wanted to talk to my family sometime this week. And then today I had Coach Foley DM me or text me saying, "What's up? How you doing?" He's on vacation too, and he's just texting a bunch of guys. So it really feels like a family. They care about you. They want to develop you as a person and a player. So yeah.
That's awesome. I was just that kind of leads into my next question because I know when you get recruited, sometimes it's different coaches. So I didn't know, who maybe if there's a couple, but who are the coaches that you've kind of grown the most close to, or if there's one that you kind of talk to more in recruiting, whether EJ Barthel or Coach Foley or whoever.
I would probably say Coach Barthel since he's my position coach. So I've had the most communication with him. I would also say Coach, when I went back so during the springtime, I went down for a practice, like one of the spring practices, and Coach Ellsworth was the one that invited me. I really like talking to him. He's really nice, and I definitely gotten closer with him. And then Coach Foley. And I'm excited because I haven't even been down to a visit yet to Nebraska because it's dead period right now. Otherwise, I would have went right after I committed. So I'll be getting down there in a couple weeks, hopefully.
What do you know about the fan support of Nebraska? I mean, obviously we're like a crazy passionate bunch, but what do you know about, the fans and their, love for this program?
It's special to say the least. You can't find any other fan base like Nebraska on social media, in person, wherever that may be. And like reading through comments or quote tweets or like through a bunch of like comments on websites and stuff, the amount of support the fans give the players and want to push them to, achieve their goals and to push Nebraska to be great is just insane. And like they want to see you develop as a person, a player. They want to see you advance through the years, earn a scholarship, whatever that may be.
I wanted to ask you, it seems like there's probably a good chance that you grew up and were a Nebraska fan, I'm guessing, but just how much, have you kind of growing up as a fan and living in the state of Nebraska, like how much has this been a dream of yours to, play at Lincoln Memorial Stadium and, put on that helmet and walk out of that tunnel and all that type of stuff?
Yeah. So like ever since I was probably like 7 or something like that, I was going to games pretty regularly. My grandparents had like season tickets and stuff, so I'd go like 2-3 games a year. It was really cool. I have like pictures of me on the practice field in a 3-point stance from when I was like 10, and I have a bunch of pictures with me having a jersey on in the stands with my dad. It's just really cool. Like I don't even think I've really processed it yet, to be honest. Like that day my heart was pounding. It was just felt unreal, and it still feels unreal to this day. Like I'll get a call from coach and I'm like, wow, this is really happening. Like I've made it to this goal. Now I just need to achieve the next goal.
You mentioned one of the coaches that you've become close with is EJ Barthel. What's something that stands out about him from a coaching standpoint? Because I've seen some of his videos during practices, and he's very passionate, very kind of wants the best out of his players. What's something that stands out to you about him?
I'd say his charisma and his just enthusiasm for the game and for just you as a player. When I was at the spring practice, I specifically walked around with him because I knew if I was going to be getting recruited, it was be as a fullback or a running back. So I walked around with him, watched him practice. The amount of excitement and energy he brought to the running back room and the group during their drills, their warm ups, their plays, it was just crazy. The whole staff was going crazy.
One thing, I've noticed with this staff, it seems like, Coach Rule is really kind of investing in that walk-on program, trying to get it back to, the days of, the Tom Osborne era when it was really, one of the backbones of, the national championship program. Is that one thing that made you, want to commit as a walk-on? Because I'm sure that, if you haven't yet, I'm sure you'd have scholarship opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I guess talk about that, kind of passing up, a chance at a scholarship to, walk on and try to earn a scholarship at Nebraska.
Yeah. I had actually, so a couple weeks before I went to the fullback camp, I had like a sit down conversation with my parents, talking to them about if I was given the opportunity, I would love to walk on. And they were all for it just because looking back at the tradition and just how much it means to Nebraska, all the Nebraska fans, and just everyone, it's just important to the state of Nebraska in general. And I feel like it was really needed. And I feel like I can definitely prove myself. I knew my capabilities, and I still do know my capabilities, and I'm going to keep working as hard as I can to achieve my goal. The final goal is to earn that scholarship and then, of course, win as many games as possible. Prove to the Big Ten that we're back.
That would be awesome. As a fan, I would absolutely love that. But I guess my next question is, what's one goal that you have set for yourself as you come into Nebraska? I mean, we've talked with some other, commits, and they all have, one goal that they want to achieve. What would be yours for your Nebraska career?
I would probably say earn the respect of the fans, players, and coaches, your teammates, whoever that may be. Prove to them that you can be great, that you aren't going to be a bust, that you aren't just, yeah.
You're saying all the right things. I'll give you that. But that's awesome.
We have another fan question here. I'll throw it out to you. I'll add on to it. I'm not quite sure the name. It has something to do with Bangkok. So, I mean, Simon, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're trying to make a joke with the name. So, but at any rate, there's a comment first that fullback, it's so exciting to get back in the Big Red, kind of the focus on fullback. And then the question, what are you squatting? And I'll also add in there, what are you benching? What's the squat and what are the bench numbers?
Of course. All right, so I'll just give you like a rundown of all my measurables. So I'm 5'10", I'm 212, 213. I'm also, fun fact, I'm also lactose intolerant, so otherwise I'd be able to gain a lot more weight. And I'm going to be calling the nutritionist next week to talk about that and stuff. And
That's brutal.
yeah. Yeah, so my measurables 4.66 40. My vert's 34.9. My squat is I think I got 565 last week. And I'm going for 6 plates this week probably. My bench is 370, my deadlift is 600, and my clean is 350.
That's impressive.
Wow.
I should follow it up. So the name is Sim, and I live in Bangkok, Thailand, guys. That's what he said. So
All
thank
right,
you
there you go.
thanks for the question, Sim.
So,
Now we got the measurables, and they're pretty impressive. 4.66. I like that for a fullback.
And then I think my PR for like a pro agility is like 4.2 flat. My
wow.
pro, that's what I've been working on a lot too. Just change of directions is such a big factor. Being able to make like short, fast cuts at the next level.
Those numbers are certainly better than mine. I'll give you that. So you mentioned, a nutritionist, and you're going to talk to a nutritionist. That was one of Matt Rule's kind of big things too, was to get an in-house nutritionist. Get a meal program for the team, and kind of emphasize health and nutrition. Um, you know, what's it been like, kind of seeing how the nutritionist works and the dietary plans and things like that? Because I imagine Coach has his hand in that quite a bit as well.
Yeah, so I honestly don't know much about it yet. I already talked to like the nutritionist and weights coach, that I want to get when I go on a visit. I want to like sit down and talk to them about it, get to know what the like game plan is going to be, what a day looks like, what I would be eating a day, just so I can get a hold of things and kind of try to get used to it beforehand. But yeah, I don't know much about it right now. As far as I know, it's going to be really good because they have nutritionists, they have doctors on. Like, this is all on staff, and then they have weights coach, multiple weights coach, and stuff like that.
Tell me a little bit. I know you play 8-man football. Is there? Tell me about like your team. Are you guys like a state title contender? Like, what's the kind of the forecast, the 4-1-1 for this upcoming season?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to start back in my sophomore year because that's kind of like where things all started for me. So we had a really good team our sophomore year. I was lucky enough to start fullback as a sophomore. We ended up making a run to the state championship where we ended up getting kind of killed, but it was a big learning curve for all of us because I was the only me and one more sophomore were the only ones starting. His name's Alex Noyd, but we ended up losing that, of course. But it helped give me experience for our junior year where we had I think seven juniors starting at like all times. So we were a really young team, of course, because like 5-6 of those dudes have never played high school football like on Friday Night Lights. So it's like a big jump in difference. So we ended up getting knocked off first round of playoffs, which was really unexpected, to be honest, because we went 8-0 in the regular season, kind of clean sweeped almost every team. So it was just really weird. But going into this year, we have almost all of our team back. We have Tanner Hollinger, who's committed to Illinois. He's 240-ish, 6'5". I could be wrong. But and then we have Alex Noyd. He's 5'11", 215 linebacker. He's a dog, that's for sure, to say the least. And then we have a bunch of guys. It's going to be really exciting because my whole team they won it. They knew how bad it hurt last year losing. And we all only have one more go around. And I think they all understand that and get the gist. This is our kind of last chance to prove to our community that we can win the state championship. And we all know we can. We've been lifting ever since we were in third grade, 4 days a week, all year round at 6 a.m. And it's a really cool atmosphere at Cross County, honestly. It's different because we have an actual weights coach that he just volunteers to come up. He used to be a weights coach at like North Dakota. And yeah, it's just really cool.
That's awesome. Well, good luck this year, man. I hope you guys get that state championship. I lost the state championship game, so I know I have to live with that. So hopefully you get her done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on playing in the Big Ten Conference as a whole? You have to, play Ohio State, the Michigans, the Penn States. Like, have you given any thought to, what it's going to be like facing those teams? I mean, those are some pretty daunting tasks, to say the least.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely think it'll be a struggle my freshman, sophomore year. I'm going to put on as much weight as possible. I think I'll be able to come out of high school weighing 220. So I honestly think that might be a fine weight for freshman year. And I'm not too worried about it, honestly. I know what our team's going to be capable of. I know the personnel we have, the drive that we will be able to have, and we'll be able to push each other to be great.
I know you play kind of a little bit of running back and fullback and whatnot. When you're kind of the blocking type or as a lead blocker, what is your mentality? I don't know how much you do that right now, but like what's your mentality for just like trying to find someone and hit somebody as a fullback and kind of clearing a path for somebody?
Yeah, so since we're like in an 8-man school, I have a really close bond with all of my guys on the team. And like Tanner, I've been best buddies with since I was in second grade, since I came here. So I feel like it's more of like a personal thing. The person that you're blocking for is your best friend. That same will transfer over to college and stuff. But you don't want that person to get hurt, tackled. You're gonna lay the wood on the other guy. You're gonna lay him out. You're gonna do the best you can to open that gap so you guys can score a touchdown and win the game in the end.
What's it been like working with Coach Campbell in terms of strength and conditioning? Because I've seen pictures of him and he is absolutely
Yeah,
jacked. Like
he's
he is a
massive.
monster in the best way possible.
Yeah. I honestly haven't worked with him at all. I'm gonna be talking to him when I go for my visit. But when when we were at the fullback camp, he talked for a while. A lot of the coaches talked for a while. But from what I hear, it's gonna be really insane, especially with the new weight weight room coming and the new nutrition area being developed and made. It'll be really cool.
How was that? How was the fullback camp like different, or how did that kind of meet your expectations? And just how cool was that for Nebraska to put on a fullback camp?
Yeah, I going into like the fullback camp, I didn't know what to expect. Like I'd been to normal camps and stuff, like you have all positions there and whatnot. So I was kind of just like prepping for the camp, just working on my footwork, speed, pro agility, and stuff like that. When I got to the camp, it was a one kind of experience for sure. I would definitely suggest anyone that's a fullback go to it just because it was really cool. So when we got there, we did like all of our measurables and stuff. And then after our measurables, we sat down on like in front of like a big screen, and we were all in our separate chairs. We were given like a notepad with a pen, and we went over like the history of the fullback, and then we went into like three separate sections, kind of. So like blocking, passing, running, like the three kind of core things that fullback will do. They'll do everything. So we would talk about like running the ball. We would write some notes down, and then we would go practice running the ball, wherever that'd be, a bunch of different drills. And then we would go sit back down, write down some more stuff about passing the ball or catching the ball. And then we would go get some catches. It was really cool.
One of the things I heard about, these camps is that the assistant coaches and even Matt Rule were very hands-on throughout the camps. They didn't just relax, they were extremely involved. Can you kind of attest to that? Was that the case at the fullback camp as well?
Oh yeah, all the coaches were running a select station because you pretty much have like 4 or 5 different classes of guys at the camp. You have like freshmen, sophomore, JUCO, seniors, and stuff like that. So like there was like 4 or 5 different groups, and you had certain coaches at each group. You had Coach Barthel running a group by himself. You had Coach Ellsworth running a group by himself. Coach Rule was walking around looking at certain people. Then he was like pulling. Then you'd have like Barthel and Coach Rule pull people to the side and do like select workouts and stuff like that if they like liked what they saw. So it was really cool.
That is really cool. It's probably a lot of pressure, I guess, to perform though, huh?
Mm-hmm. I was really happy with how I performed, starting with my 40 time, and then it just all kind of stacked on top of each other. And I think I got pulled into a separate fullback. 4 of us fullbacks actually got pulled into a separate group, and they like videoed like some pro agility stuff of us running. And then we got pulled up into like the players lounge after camp, us 4. And then this is like the cool part. We were actually sitting at like the round table. Like there's like a round table. We were just talking to Coach Barthel and stuff. He was getting our numbers and whatnot. And Coach Foley's like sitting at the door. He like looks at me and like points at me and tells me to come. So I get out, and he pulled me into Coach Rule's office because Coach Rule wanted to talk to me, which was really cool.
That's awesome. That had to feel good going into Coach Rule's office.
Yeah.
That's sweet, man. Well,
I
you
actually have
definitely
one more
deserved
question.
it. Yeah, go for it, Danny.
I just have one more question. I've heard a lot about, Coach Foley and his enthusiasm and his excitement. He was all over the state during the offseason recruiting, and it seemed like he never slept. Like, can you kind of, from your interactions with him, do you sense that level of excitement and enthusiasm?
Oh yeah, he brings a different type of energy. Like you have all the other coaches bringing this type of energy, which is like really high still, and then you got Coach Foley up here just being crazy, and then you have Coach Omar Hales up there too. It's just crazy. The energy the whole staff brings is unreal. It just really it definitely lightened the mood of practice, made people want to practice good. It was just really cool.
I just had kind of one final question, Isaac, and then if Danny has any others, he can ask, or we can kind of wrap it up there. But just what would you say to Nebraska fans that what should they expect to see from you out on the field here over the next few years as you build your Nebraska football career?
I'm gonna be getting on the field as any way possible. Special teams, wherever that may be, kickoff return, wherever they need me, wherever I work hard to get to that spot, I'll be on the field. I'm gonna work as hard as I can, push people to be great, try to be a leader. I'm just gonna try to be optimistic about anything that may come our way and whatnot.
Cool, man. Well, I think Danny said that he's all set for
I'm all
questions.
set. Yep.
So yeah, we'll wrap it up there. But thanks a lot for joining us, Isaac. It was a pleasure to speak with you, man.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. Anytime you want to come on, feel free to, message me or whatever, and we'll be happy to have you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to check in with you after you get on campus and everything.
For
and,
sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
So yeah, that would be awesome. Well, hey, good luck again this year to your football season, man. Hopefully you guys win state. And everybody that checked in, make sure you guys get into your comments, let us know what you think, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.
Go Big Red, baby. All right, have a good one.